Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I will be reviewing and testing out in two different ways the KVD Good Apple Concealer. I'm so excited to try this one on, and I bought mine in the shade Light 105. I want to show you how I'm going to apply it two different ways and see which one looks better, as I've learned this from another YouTuber here, and her name is Nina Ubi. Anyways, a little bit on this concealer. This retails for $37 Canadian, and that's $28 US. This is supposed to be full coverage. It gives you a natural finish. It's hydrating and long wearing. I have dry skin. I am very curious to see how this applies. It is rich in antioxidants. It provides hydration all day. And the applicator of this concealer, it mimics a fingertip. Now let's open this up. So this is what the concealer looks up close, the packaging. And I got mine in the shade Light 105. Ooh, this is so pretty. It looks like a, I don't know, like a baby doll bottle. And it looks like this is a pipette, but I know it's not because it has a doe foot applicator. Now, I don't know if I mentioned, but this comes in 32 shades. I'm not sure if shade Light 105 is good for me, but we're gonna try it on. I'm gonna apply my Hollywood Flawless Filter on my high points of my face. If you're interested what I'm wearing on my eyes, I will let you know towards the end of the video. So I'm gonna use my fingertips for this. I always like to hydrate my under eye area before I apply concealer, no matter whether the concealer is more full coverage or an hydrating concealer. Again, I have dry skin. I'm going to apply on this side the concealer right now before foundation, and on this side I will apply foundation and the concealer on top. So let's go ahead and show you how this concealer looks like. Ooh, okay, so there's the cute tofu applicator. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's so cute. So it does mimic a finger so that it's easier to get in this corner here. And let's see here, it's pretty tight to kind of put it in, and you can hear that taking it out, but it's okay. Now let me show you the shade that I've got here. Okay, so it's a pretty light shade. So I'm gonna compare it to my Rare Beauty in the shade 170W right beside it, so you guys can have an idea on the shades, and my NARS Creamy Concealer in the shade Light 1 as well. Okay, so here is the difference. Now this is the KVD one. This runs a little bit more peachy. This is the Rare Beauty one in the shade 170W. It's a little bit more on the yellow side. This is my NARS one in the shade Light 1, which seems to be the brightest and the lightest out of them all. But upon application, the NARS one seems with the most hydration, and the Rare Beauty one and the KVD, they seem very similar when you blend them out. Now that's kind of to give you an idea on what shade this is and how it looks. Now let's go ahead with the application. On this eye, I'm gonna apply it. Ooh. Under my foundation, and then on this side I will apply my foundation and apply it on top. So let's go ahead and blend this. I'm gonna use a beauty blender. I think this is by Morphe. It's a tiny one compared to the big one, but maybe let's start with the big one. Now apparently this technique, applying it under your foundation, it lifts and it brightens your area better than the other way around, like how I used to apply my concealer. Now I'm gonna go ahead and apply foundation on this side. So I'm gonna use my Fenty Beauty foundation in the shade 150. This is a hydrating foundation. So for that, I am going to use my Rare Beauty brush. I love this foundation. It is so hydrating, so beautiful on the skin. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with the KVD concealer, and apply the concealer underneath my eye here. So I'm gonna do the same amount. Go in with my beauty sponge. This is very tricky when you already have your eyes done. So here is the side with just the concealer, no foundation. And here is the side with the foundation and concealer on top. So now I'm gonna go ahead and apply foundation on this side. But what I'm loving so far is that this concealer so far looks pretty hydrating to me. I've seen some reviews on this where they say that I think it's more drying, but to me it looks very hydrating and very lightweight, and a little bit goes a long way. So this is a close-up of the face. I feel like on this side where I've applied the concealer underneath my foundation, it looks a little bit more brightening and lifted, and here it kind of blends in. It still brightens, but I feel like this area feels more brightening than this area. What do you guys think? And I think that this concealer looks very nice on the face. Now, here's another trick that you guys can do with the concealer. I'm gonna go ahead and apply here and here so that we can brighten this area up. And sculpt the face. Okay, so you can see that nice brightening effect it gives, and you can also add it in the middle. Let's see what happens, and a little bit on the nose. And let's brighten this area up. So what I see here, it provides a pretty good coverage and very great brightening for the face. And I don't see any dryness. I see it very dewy and very beautiful. Now keep in mind that underneath I have the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter, and then I'm using a hydrating foundation. Okay, so let's go ahead and set the under eye area here. So for that, I'm gonna use my favorite under eye setting powder, which is the Pat McGrath Labs. This is the translucent one, and the best way to set it is with this is the Tati Beauty Blendiful, and let's try it, set it this way. And get underneath there. And again, set this area here. But look how beautiful and brightening this concealer looks. I am actually loving the coverage it provides and how flawless it looks. It looks beautiful. Now let's go ahead and finish the rest of the face. So I'm gonna walk you through what I'm using on my rest of the face. For bronzer, I'm gonna use my Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush bronzer, and mine is in the shade 2 medium. So for that, I'm gonna use the F5 by Blinked brushes and give the face a little bit of color here. For blush, I'm gonna use my Milk Blush in the shade Sundown. This is a beautiful orangey blush. And for that, I'm going to use my MAC 129S brush. Okay, so I'm not going to add any highlighter because I want to leave it as is so you guys can see better. I'm going to apply my Maybelline Lifter Gloss, and this is in the shade 004. That's what I have on my lips, but I'm going to apply a bit more. Okay. So let me zoom you in very close and kind of give you my final thoughts on this concealer. So we are very close here in the camera, and this is the side where I've applied the concealer first, then the foundation on top, and then we set it. And this is the side where I applied, as usual, the foundation, concealer, and then set it. I've applied the exact same amount of concealer in the same amount, in the same spots on both eyes. And you guys let me know, which one do you like better? I think that the new way I've tried it looks a little bit more brightening. The brightening effect comes a bit lower, where the one where we have foundation and then concealer, it seems like there's not a big brightening effect there. You can see it flawless and beautiful, but you don't see this nice brightening effect as you see here. And I am loving this new way of applying concealer, and I think I will be doing it that way from now on. But to give you my final thoughts on this concealer, so here is the up close. Okay, so final thoughts on this concealer. I got mine in the shade Light 105. First of all, the shade is perfect for my skin tone. I have fair skin, and I usually buy my shades in ivory and light. So 105 is just perfect for my skin tone for brightening. I don't know if I can use this to cover any blemishes or anything like that, because if it's a brightening one for my skin tone, you don't want to emphasize and brighten a blemish. Now, this concealer, it's a lightweight full coverage concealer, which I agree with those, because it did feel very lightweight, very creamy, a little bit goes a long way, and it provided a very full coverage under my eye area. Like, my under eye area looked flawless. And it's also not drying at all. It doesn't feel sticky because it's set with the powder, but it doesn't feel heavy, and it doesn't feel, when you move your face and eyes, like it's going to dry up in your fine lines. Now, every concealer will eventually settle in those underneath lines, underneath your eyes, because we have those lines. But you know, some of them look very dry and they pile up in the corner or in the lines, which some of them look very natural, very hydrating, and very flawless, like this one. So I'm actually loving this concealer. I was a bit worried because I've seen some reviews on people with dry skin where the concealer didn't look too good, or it looked a bit drying. To me, I'm not going to do a wear test on the concealer, because most concealers, after a certain amount of hours, will eventually settle in those little crevices underneath your eyes, which is not a big deal. We all have those lines, but I want a brightening concealer. I want a concealer that is full coverage and gives me this nice and flawless canvas, and this is what this one did. So I'm definitely recommending this KVD Good Apple Concealer. It is beautiful. Now let's move on to what I'm wearing on my eyes. I've chosen today the Huda Beauty Wild Jaguar palette, and today I played with these colors. So I've used this shade in my transition, I've used this shade in my crease, and also my outer corner to darken it. And I've also used this green, yes, I've used this green all over the eyelid, and I topped it with this sparkly one right here in the middle, just for those extra sparkles that you guys see on my eyelids. That's what I've used. Now you're probably wondering, in my inner corner and waterline, I'm using two gel liners by ColourPop. The yellow one that you see is in the shade CRSSD, and the purple one in the inner corner is the shade Prince. And I love these two shades together. I think it just, you know, gives it a pop of color to the eye look with a very nice glossy lip. It looks beautiful. And this concealer, it is one of my favorites. It seems very similar to the Lancome one. Let me grab my Lancome one. Now, here is my Lancome one, and here is the KVD one. My Lancome one is in the shade 250 Bis W, and let me try it on the hand for you guys. Now, the dofu applicator, it is much bigger, obviously. Yeah, this is a little bit darker, so this is probably good to cover blemishes. And then I'll show you this KVD one. So the Lancome one is right here, and the KVD one is right here. So you can see how much darker that is compared to this. Now, in terms of feel, they feel very similar. So they feel like high coverage. You can see a little bit of hydration. You can see a little bit of glowiness, like creaminess in them. But the difference is the shades. So I guess this is good for covering blemishes on my skin tone. This is good for brightening my skin tone. Now, that's to kind of give you an idea on how they are. Now, keep in mind that this is not as hydrating as the Kosas. If you'd like one like Kosas, which is hydrating and is very lightweight and not high coverage, then you can go in with the Kosas. But this is for more of a fuller coverage and the hydrating portion as well. I am just loving it. Look how beautiful the under eye area looks. The nose has not dried. Sometimes I have dryness on the nose. Same with the forehead. I don't see any dryness there. And same in this area where I applied it. I don't see any dryness at all. So I'm loving this concealer and definitely recommending it. Now, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe down below. I wish you all a wonderful day. Always remember to be yourself. I cannot wait to see you in my next one. Love you guys. Bye.